The last thing my mother taught me was how to destroy my brother. She didn't phrase it that way, of course. Cancer had already taken her voice, so she wrote it in careful cursive on her yellow legal pad. Eva, remember what we discussed? The trust documents are in the blue folder. Don't let anyone tell you different. My name is Eva, and I was always the quiet one, the planner, the one who sat with Mum through 3 years of chemo, while my brother Kason sent flowers and excuses. I'm the one who learned about wills and trusts during lunch breaks, who memorized account numbers and signatures while others lived their lives. Your brother means well, Mum whispered one night, her fingers trembling as she pointed to another document. But he's never understood consequences. Promise me you'll protect yourself. I promised. I didn't know then how much that promise would cost. The funeral was exactly what you'd expect, all surface sympathy and designer black dresses. I stood near the podium, watching Kason work the room like it was a networking event. He didn't cry. Neither did I. Beautiful service, people kept saying, squeezing my arm as they passed. My stepmother Raquel orchestrated everything, down to the white roses Kason's wife held. I just nodded and stayed quiet, like always. She would have wanted us to celebrate, Kason announced during his eulogy, his voice catching just enough to seem genuine. Mum always said I was her sunshine. I thought about the nights Mum spent teaching me about estate law, her voice getting weaker, but her eyes staying sharp. Knowledge is better than sunshine, she'd say. Sunshine fades. 2 days after we buried her, my phone buzzed with a bank notification. I was sitting at my kitchen table, sorting through sympathy cards. The message was simple. Transfer completed. Available balance $320,000. Gone. My hands didn't shake as I called the bank. They confirmed what I already knew. Kason had withdrawn everything Mum had left specifically to me. My phone rang 10 minutes later. Kason. "Hey, sis," he said, casual as Sunday brunch. "Look, I know you're probably checking the accounts." "The money was meant for me," I said quietly. Mum's will was clear. He laughed. Actually laughed. "Come on, Eva. You know how Mum was, always hedging her bets. You were just the backup plan, the responsible one who'd handle the paperwork while I built something real." I could hear champagne glasses clinking in the background. He was celebrating. "Besides," he continued, "you don't need it. I've got big plans for that capital. You should be happy. Your big brother's finally going to make the family proud." I thought about Mum's last written words. "Don't let anyone tell you different." "Kason," I said, my voice steady, "you should have read those trust documents more carefully." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I replied. "Enjoy your evening." He hung up, probably already forgetting our conversation. That was Kason, golden boy, chosen one, sunshine child who never looked back to see what shadows he cast. But Mum had taught me about shadows, about quiet preparation and patience, about the power of being underestimated. I opened my laptop and pulled up the folder marked Family Trust Documentation. Inside were 3 years of carefully gathered papers, recordings, and signatures. Mum knew this day might come. She'd prepared me for it, piece by piece, lesson by lesson. My phone buzzed again, Raquel this time. "Eva, darling, Kason told me you're upset about the accounts. You know your brother has always had a better head for business. Your mother would have wanted—" "Thank you for your concern," I cut in. "I need to go." I hung up and looked at the trust documents spread across my table, at the signature specimens I'd saved, at the recorded conversations, at the careful trail of breadcrumbs Mum helped me leave. Kason thought he'd burned me, but all he'd lit was the fuse. I picked up my phone one last time and dialed a number I'd memorized months ago. It rang twice. "Abraham Joseph's office," a calm voice answered. "This is Eva Holland. My mother was Catherine Holland. I need to discuss her estate." "Ah, yes," the lawyer said. "Your mother mentioned you'd be calling. Shall we meet tomorrow morning?" I looked at the stack of documents again. "Yes," I said. "I believe it's time to review those contingency plans she put in place." When I hung up, I felt something unfamiliar in my chest. Not grief, Not anger. Something cooler, cleaner. Purpose. Kaysen always said I was the backup plan. He never stopped to consider that maybe, just maybe, he was the one being played all along. Abraham's office smelled like old leather and certainty. He sat across from me, examining the documents I'd brought with the kind of focus that made me understand why Mom had trusted him. Hypothetically speaking, I said, sliding another paper across his desk, if someone had access to joint accounts but wasn't the primary beneficiary— Hypothetically, Abraham interrupted, adjusting his glasses, that person would be committing fraud. He paused, studying my face. Ava, your mother spoke to me extensively about Kaysen. I kept my expression neutral. Did she? She knew his patterns. The question is, do you have proof? I pulled out my phone and played the recording from 2 months ago. Kaysen's voice filled the room. Just sign here, Mum. You know I'll take care of everything. Abraham's eyebrows rose slightly. And you have the original documents? Plus 3 years of signature samples, account records, and witnessed conversations. I laid them out one by one. Mum was very thorough in her lessons. A knock at the door interrupted us. My cousin Penelope walked in, her dark hair wild as always. Sorry, I'm late. Traffic was— She stopped, seeing the papers spread across the desk. Oh, it's happening already. You knew? I asked. She dropped into the chair beside me. Eva, everyone knew Kaysen would try something. I just didn't know you'd be ready for it. Abraham cleared his throat. Miss Penelope, unless you're here as a witness— I am, she said firmly. I was there when Aunt Catherine discussed the trust conditions, and I have texts from Kaysen about his plans for the money. My phone buzzed. Raquel calling again. I answered on speaker. Eva, this family dispute needs to end, she said, her voice dripping with artificial concern. Just accept that you were never meant to inherit that money. Your mother knew Kaysen would make better use. I ended the call, but not before catching Penelope's satisfied smile. Perfect, she said. That's exhibit what now? D? Abraham was already making notes. This creates a clear pattern of intent. Eva, what exactly do you want to accomplish here? Justice, I said simply, and my inheritance. He nodded slowly. Then we'll need to move quickly. Your brother's spending patterns suggest he's already allocating the funds. Let him, I said. Mum taught me about leverage. Penelope leaned forward. What's the play? First, we file a fraud claim with the bank, Abraham explained. Then we activate the trust your mother established, the one Kaysen doesn't know about. My phone buzzed again, a text from Kaysen. Having dinner with Dad tonight, discussing family business opportunities. You should come learn something. Penelope read over my shoulder and snorted. He really has no idea, does he? No one does, I said. That's the point. We spent the next hour preparing documents. Abraham made calls while Penelope dug through her phone for more evidence. I sat quietly, watching the pieces fall into place. One more thing, Abraham said as we finished. The bank manager, Scarlett, she's expecting you. Your mother arranged it months ago. I gathered my papers. Time to visit the bank then. Penelope stood to leave with me, then hesitated. Eva, they're going to say you're being cruel. That family should forgive. Forgiveness requires remorse, I replied. Kaysen doesn't even think he's wrong. Outside, the afternoon sun was bright enough to hurt. My phone showed 3 missed calls from my father and another text from Kaysen. Just bought a new beach house. You should see the view. I walked into the bank, my heels clicking against marble floors. The security guard nodded. Mom had known him for years. At the desk I asked for Scarlett. A woman in her 40s appeared, elegant and sharp-eyed. Recognition flickered across her face. I've been expecting you, she said quietly. Your mother said you'd come. She led me to a private office and closed the door. Catherine was very specific about the procedures we should follow. She pulled out a file. Shall we begin? I thought about Kaysen in his new beach house, celebrating his theft with champagne, about Raquel's dismissive voice telling me to accept being nothing, about my father's silence all these years. Yes, I said, taking out my ID and the trust documents. Let's begin. Scarlett smiled, the small, satisfied smile of someone who appreciated precision. Your mother said you were the quiet one, but she also said quiet doesn't mean weak. No, I agreed, thinking of all the quiet moments that had led to this one, all the silent preparation and patient planning. It really doesn't. I signed the first document, my signature as perfect as practice had made it. Somewhere across town, Kaysen was probably ordering another bottle of champagne, unaware that his beach house view was about to change dramatically. Quiet doesn't mean weak, it just means they never hear you coming. Scarlett's fingers moved across her keyboard with practiced efficiency. The irrevocable trust is now active, she said. Once we transfer the funds, there's no reversing it. I watched the computer screen as she pulled up Kaysen's transaction history. Look at this spending, she murmured. 3 luxury car payments, a down payment on the beach property, wire transfers to multiple investment accounts. He's spreading it thin, I noted, making it harder to trace. Not hard enough. Scarlett highlighted several transactions. These all used the joint account credentials he wasn't authorised to use after your mother's death. My phone lit up with a text from Penelope. Kaysen's showing off his new Porsche to Dad. You should see Raquel fawning over him. How long until the fraud alert takes effect? I asked. Scarlett checked her watch. The system flags suspicious activities every evening at 6. Given the documentation you've provided, his accounts should be frozen by tomorrow morning. I nodded, remembering Mum's voice. Banking isn't about money, Eva. It's about timing. The afternoon passed in a blur of signatures and verifications. Scarlett moved methodically, building an unbreakable wall around my inheritance. By 5:30, everything was in place. One last thing, Scarlett said, printing a final document. Your mother left this letter for you. She asked me to give it to you today. The envelope was heavy, cream-coloured. Inside, Mum's handwriting was shaky but clear. Eva, if you're reading this, Kaysen did exactly what we feared. Remember, you're not taking anything from him. You're reclaiming what was always yours. I love you both, but love doesn't excuse theft. Be strong. Be precise. At exactly 6 o'clock, my phone buzzed with a notification. Kaysen's primary account, frozen due to suspected fraudulent activity. I was walking to my car when Penelope called. You need to get to your father's house now, she said, trying to suppress laughter. Kaysen just tried to pay for dinner delivery and his card was declined, all of them. He's having a meltdown. I'll pass, I said. I have a meeting with Abraham. Eva, Penelope's voice turned serious. He's calling the bank's emergency line. He's throwing your name around, threatening lawsuits. Let him, I replied. Everything's already in the trust, clean, legal, untouchable. I could hear shouting in the background. Kaysen's voice. What do you mean, fraudulent activity? I'm a respected businessman. Oh, God, Penelope whispered. He just tried using Raquel's card. It's not going through either. They linked her accounts to the investigation. I started my car. Tell me if he leaves. Trust me, she said. He's not going anywhere. His Porsche payment just bounced. At Abraham's office, everything was calm and orderly, a stark contrast to the chaos I'd left behind. He reviewed the trust documentation with quiet approval. The transfer is complete, he confirmed. The funds are secured in your name, with an ironclad paper trail showing your mother's original intent. My phone kept buzzing. Kaysen, father, Raquel. I turned it off. What happens next? I asked. The bank's fraud department will conduct their investigation. Given the evidence, they'll likely refer this to the Financial Crimes Unit. Abraham straightened his tie. Your brother may face serious consequences. Good. A knock at the door revealed Penelope, slightly breathless. You need to see this. She held up her phone, showing a group text from Kaysen. Family emergency meeting now. Someone has sabotaged our accounts. Eva, if you're behind this, you have no idea what you're doing. Fix this immediately. Another message popped up from Raquel. Eva, stop this childish behaviour. Your brother has important business obligations. I handed the phone back to Penelope. How many business obligations can he handle with frozen accounts? None, she grinned. And here's the best part. I checked with my friend at the marina. He can't even access his precious new beach house because the final payment didn't clear. Abraham cleared his throat. Eva, he will likely try to contest this. With what money? Penelope asked. He spent everything he stole, and now he can't touch any of his own accounts. My phone powered back on with a flood of messages, but one caught my eye, from Scarlett. Fraud alert confirmed. All associated accounts frozen pending investigation. Trust transfer complete and sealed. Congratulations. I thought about Kayson's words. You were just the backup plan. Well, the backup plan just locked down $320,000 in an untouchable trust. The backup plan just froze his entire financial world. The backup plan was about to teach him what Mum's real lessons had been about. Eva, Penelope said softly, he's going to come looking for you. Let him, I replied, thinking of Mum's letter. I'll be ready. Sometimes the quiet ones aren't quiet because they're weak. They're quiet because they're watching, learning, planning, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The first sign of Kayson's collapse came 3 days later. I was having coffee with Penelope when his name flashed across the local business news, rising executive faces, multiple payment defaults. His vendors are talking, Penelope said, sliding her tablet across the table. Apparently, he's been promising everyone payment for weeks. I scanned the article. Words jumped out. Business irregularities, pending investigation, pattern of financial misconduct. My phone rang. Kayson. There's been some kind of banking error, he said, his voice tight with forced calm. I need you to come to the house and help sort this out. An error? I kept my voice neutral. Don't play dumb, Eva. My accounts are frozen, my cards are declined. Even my business line of credit is suspended. He took a sharp breath. Whatever you did, undo it, now. I thought I was just the backup plan, I said softly. Surely the golden child can handle a simple banking issue. Silence, then. You don't understand what you've done. I have obligations, important people expecting payments. How unfortunate. Eva, his voice cracked slightly. I need that money. No, I corrected him. You need Mum's money, the money you stole from me. He hung up. Penelope raised an eyebrow. How long before he realises? That the money's in an irrevocable trust? Soon. I sipped my coffee. That he's facing fraud charges? Probably not soon enough. My phone buzzed with texts from Raquel. Your father is furious. Family dinner tonight. Non-negotiable. Penelope peered at my screen. You're not going, are you? Of course I am. I gathered my things. Mum always said, watch your enemies closest when they're desperate. The family house looked exactly as it had during my childhood. Imposing, cold, perfect. Inside, Raquel had set the formal dining room. Dad sat at the head of the table, Kayson to his right, looking considerably less polished than usual. Sit down, Eva, Dad commanded. We need to discuss this situation. I took my usual seat, the far end, away from the power positions. Penelope slipped in beside me. This vendetta needs to stop, Raquel began. Your brother stole my inheritance, I finished, and now he's facing the consequences. It wasn't theft, Kayson snapped. I had access to those accounts. Had, I emphasised, past tense, before Mum died. Dad's fist hit the table. Enough! Eva, you're destroying your brother's reputation, his business relationships. No, I said calmly, his fraud did that. Kayson stood up so fast his chair toppled. I'll sue you. With what money? Penelope cut in, sliding her phone across the table. On it was Kayson's bank app, all accounts showing 0 or negative balances. You were always the quiet one, Dad said, his voice heavy with disappointment, never as bright as your brother, never as ambitious. I felt Penelope tense beside me, but I stayed calm. You're right, Dad. I was quiet, watching, learning, just like Mom taught me. Your mother would be ashamed, Raquel hissed. I pulled out my phone and played the recording, Raquel's own voice saying, "Just accept that you were never meant to inherit that money." The colour drained from her face. "The trust is ironclad," I continued. "The fraud investigation is ongoing, and every penny Kaysen stole is now legally, permanently mine." "You can't do this to me," Kaysen whispered. "I'm your brother." "Oh, I thought I was just the backup plan." He lunged across the table, but Penelope was faster. She stepped between us, her voice sharp. "Touch her, and I'll add a salt to your growing list of legal problems." The doorbell rang. Through the window I saw Abraham's car in the driveway. "That's my lawyer," I said, standing. "He has some papers for you to sign, Kaysen. Admission of fraud, repayment agreements, all very standard." "I won't sign anything," he snarled. "Then enjoy explaining to the Financial Crimes Unit where the money went." I walked to the door, then turned back. "Oh, and Kaysen, the beach house has been repossessed. Turns out banks don't like bounced payments." Penelope followed me out, trying not to laugh. Behind us I could hear Kaysen's voice rising in panic, Dad demanding explanations, Raquel's sharp accusations. "Ava," Penelope said as we reached my car, "that was beautiful." But I wasn't finished. Not yet. Because just then my phone lit up with a notification from Scarlett. "Federal investigators requesting account records. Shall I comply?" I typed back one word, yes. Sometimes karma needs a little help, and sometimes the quiet ones know exactly how to deliver it. Through the window, I could see Kaysen's face as Abraham entered with his stack of papers. He looked small suddenly, lost, just like I'd felt all those years, watching from the shadows while he took everything, not any more. The intervention was Raquel's idea. They arranged it for Sunday afternoon, probably thinking I'd be more pliable after church. I wasn't surprised to find them all waiting in the living room, Dad, Raquel, Kaysen, and 3 of his business partners. "This has gone far enough," Dad announced as I walked in. Penelope slipped in behind me, uninvited but unmovable. "We're here because we care about both of you," Raquel said, using her best stepmother voice. "This feud is destroying the family." I sat in the armchair by the window, Mum's old favourite spot. Is that what we're calling fraud these days? A feud? One of Kaysen's partners, a man in an expensive suit, cleared his throat. "Eva, we understand you're upset, but your brother is a valuable member of our business community. These accusations are damaging our entire network." "Accusations?" Penelope pulled out her tablet. "You mean the bank records, the fraud investigation, the bounced payments to your company?" The man shifted uncomfortably. "You know you were always the quiet one," Dad said, leaning forward. "Never as bright as him. Never understood business like Kaysen does." I felt Penelope tense beside me, but I stayed calm. "You're right, Dad. I never understood business like Kaysen. I understood law, banking, consequences." "Just tell us what you want," Kaysen burst out. His usual polish had cracked, his shirt was wrinkled, his eyes haunted. "Money? A position in the company?" "I want what Mum left me," I said simply. "The money you stole." "Your mother would have wanted," Raquel began. "My mother left very clear instructions," I cut in. "She spent 3 years teaching me exactly what to do in this situation." That stopped them. Dad's face reddened. "What are you talking about?" I opened my phone and played another recording. Mum's voice, weak but determined. "Eva, if you're listening to this, they've tried to take what's yours. Remember everything I taught you. Every signature, every document, every lesson." Kaysen's face went pale. "You recorded her." "She recorded herself," I corrected. "She knew you, Kaysen, knew exactly what you'd do." "This is ridiculous." One of the partners stood up. "We came here to resolve this, not listen to family drama." Penelope smiled sweetly. "Oh, you'll want to stay for this part. Eva, show them the trust documents." I pulled out the folder Abraham had prepared. The money isn't just in a trust, it's in an irrevocable trust with fraud protection clauses. Mum designed it specifically to activate if Kaysen tried to access the inheritance. You're lying, Kaysen whispered. The federal investigation says otherwise. I laid out the papers. Every transaction you made, every account you accessed, it's all documented, time-stamped, tracked. Raquel grabbed the papers, her hands shaking. This can't be legal. Ask your lawyer, I suggested. Oh, wait, he dropped you when the fraud alert hit the Bar Association. Dad stood up suddenly. Ava, stop this, now. Your brother has built something real. You're just being spiteful. So spiteful? Penelope's voice cut through the room. She watched you favour him for 30 years, watched him steal her inheritance, and you're calling her spiteful? Stay out of this, Raquel snapped. No, Penelope stepped forward. I've stayed quiet long enough. We all watched you worship Kaysen while Eva did all the work. Well, guess what? The quiet one just outplayed your golden boy. The business partners were already edging toward the door, murmuring excuses. Kaysen looked like he might be sick. I'll give it back, he said suddenly. The money, I'll find a way to repay it. You can't, I said softly. You spent it all, and now every financial institution in the state has flagged your accounts for fraud investigation. This? Dad looked at Raquel, then at Kaysen. His voice cracked. This is what you raised, what we created. I stood up, gathering my papers. Mum raised me. She taught me to protect myself from all of you. Eva, please, Kaysen tried one last time. I'm your brother. You said I was just the backup plan, I reminded him. Consider this the backup plan in action. As Penelope and I walked out, I heard Raquel start to cry. Dad was silent. Kaysen called after me, his voice breaking. You've ruined everything. Outside, the afternoon sun was bright and clean. My phone buzzed with a text from Abraham. Federal investigators want to meet tomorrow. Shall I schedule it? Yes, I typed back. Penelope squeezed my arm. You okay? I thought about Mum's last lessons, about all the quiet years of preparation, about justice served not in anger, but in precise measured steps. I'm perfect, I said. When we reached my car, I found an envelope under the windshield wiper. Inside was an old family photo, my face scratched out with red ink. I showed it to Penelope, who snorted. Raquel's work, I bet. Real mature. Doesn't matter, I said, starting the car. They can scratch me out of every photo they own, but they can't touch what matters. The trust, the investigation, the truth. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with paperwork. Scarlett met me for dinner at a quiet restaurant downtown. Her expression told me she had news before she even sat down. Your brother tried to access the trust account today, she said, ordering a glass of wine. 3 separate attempts, using 3 different forms of identification. Let me guess, all fraudulent? She nodded. We've added it to the investigation file, but that's not why I asked to meet. She pulled out her tablet. Look at this. The screen showed a cascade of financial alerts. Kaysen's business partners pulling out of deals, credit lines frozen, vendor payments bouncing across 6 different states. He's radioactive now, Scarlett explained. Every financial institution in the region has him flagged for fraud exposure. No one will touch him. My phone buzzed, Penelope sending a video, Raquel outside a mortgage office, mascara smeared, arguing with a loan officer. The caption read, "Trying to mortgage the family house. Denied." They're desperate, I said. Scarlett's eyes narrowed. They should be. The federal investigators found something interesting in Kaysen's business records. This wasn't his first fraud attempt. What do you mean? He's been running a shell game for years, using new investor money to pay old debts, shifting funds between accounts. She sipped her wine. Your mother's inheritance was supposed to cover his tracks. The waiter brought our food, but I barely noticed what I'd ordered. Mum knew, didn't she? That's why she spent so much time preparing me. Catherine was brilliant, Scarlett agreed. She saw the pattern long before anyone else. My phone lit up again, an email from a local news blog requesting comment on the Holland family financial scandal. Penelope had been busy. "Did you see the latest?" Scarlett asked, showing me another alert. "Your stepmother's recorded conversation about the inheritance just leaked online, the one where she admits they never intended to honour your mother's wishes." I thought about Raquel's voice. "Just accept that you were never meant to inherit that money." Now the whole city could hear it. "Eva," Scarlett leaned forward, "your brother's trying to access private banking channels, calling in favours, but every door is closing." "Good." "There's more." She pulled up another document. "The beach house, the bank's preparing to seize it, along with his cars, his office assets, everything he bought with fraudulent funds." I remembered Kayson's smug voice. "I've got big plans for that capital." The restaurant door chimed, and Penelope slid into our booth, slightly breathless. "You need to see this." She held up her phone, a social media post from one of Kayson's business partners publicly cutting ties with him. "The dominoes are falling," Scarlett observed. "Falling?" Penelope laughed. "They're crashing. Raquel's country club membership just got revoked. Something about financial impropriety concerns." My phone buzzed again. Dad calling. I let it go to voicemail. "They're trying to damage control," Penelope explained. "Dad's calling everyone he knows, trying to save Kayson's reputation, but no one's answering." Scarlett's tablet pinged with another alert. "Your brother just tried to open a new account at First Regional. They declined and reported the attempt." "He's running out of options," I said. "Options?" Penelope snorted. "He's running out of everything. His wife took the kids to her parents' house this morning. Apparently she doesn't want to be around when the federal agents show up." I thought about Mum's quiet lessons, her patient explanations of banking laws and trust structures. She'd known this day would come. She'd armed me for it, piece by piece. "Eva," Scarlett said softly, "there's one more thing. The trust account. It's generating significant interest. The inheritance is actually growing." Penelope leaned back, grinning. "Meanwhile, Kayson can't even buy coffee without his card being declined." My phone lit up with a text from Abraham. "Federal agents want to interview Kayson tomorrow. He's not responding to their calls." "He's probably hiding at the beach house," Penelope said. "You know, the one he's about to lose." Scarlett gathered her things to leave. "The bank board meets Monday to review the fraud investigation. Would you like to attend?" I nodded. Mum always said, see things through to the end. After she left, Penelope stayed, studying my face. "You know what's weird? Through this whole thing, you haven't spent a single dollar of the inheritance." "It was never about the money," I replied. "Then what was it about?" I thought about years of being the quiet one, the backup plan, the afterthought, about watching Kayson take and take while everyone applauded. "Justice," I said simply. Mum taught me that some lessons can only be learned through consequences. My phone buzzed one last time. A news alert. Local executive under federal investigation. Family fortune in question. Penelope read it and smiled. Your mother would be proud. Yes, I thought, she would be, because she taught me the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the quiet ones aren't just watching, they're waiting. The bank's conference room felt like a courtroom. Abraham sat beside me, his files neatly arranged. Scarlett stood near the window, watching the door. When Kayson finally walked in, I barely recognised him. Gone was the designer suit, replaced by wrinkled khakis and an untucked shirt. His eyes were puffy, his hands shaking slightly as he dropped into a chair. Dad followed, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Raquel wasn't there. "Let's begin," Abraham said, opening the first folder. "We're here to discuss the fraudulent withdrawal of $320,000 from Catherine's estate." "This is unnecessary," Dad started, but Abraham held up his hand. "Mr. Kayson, would you like to explain these transactions?" He slid several papers across the table, particularly the ones made after your mother's death, using her account information. Kayson stared at the documents, his jaw working. I had access. She trusted me with... Access isn't ownership, Scarlett cut in. The funds were explicitly designated for Eva in both the will and trust documents. I needed it, Kaysen whispered. My business, I had obligations. You mean debts? I corrected. How many years were you running that pyramid scheme, Kaysen? His head snapped up. It wasn't. The federal investigators found everything, Abraham continued. Every false investment, every manipulated account. Your mother's inheritance was supposed to cover your tracks, wasn't it? Dad's face went ash-grey. What is he talking about? Show him, I said quietly. Scarlett projected a financial diagram onto the wall, a web of transactions, transfers, and shell companies, all leading back to Kaysen. Dad made a small broken sound. The beach house has been repossessed, Abraham continued. The luxury cars are being seized. Your business partners have filed complaints with the SEC. Kaysen put his head in his hands. I can fix this. I just need time. Time won't help, Scarlett said. Every bank in the state has blacklisted you. Your accounts are frozen. Your assets are being liquidated to repay your victims. Victims? Dad's voice cracked. The investors he defrauded, Abraham explained. The numbers are still coming in, but we're looking at millions in damages. I watched my brother, golden boy, chosen one, family favourite, crumble in real time. Eva, he looked up, eyes desperate. Please, help me. Alone, anything. You said I was the backup plan, I reminded him softly. Remember? I didn't mean... He swallowed hard. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught? He didn't answer. Dad stood suddenly, his chair scraping back. This is what you raised, he said to no one in particular. This fraud, this shame. No, I corrected him. This is what you raised. Mom raised me. The door opened, and a federal agent stepped in, badge visible. Mr. Kaysen, we need to speak with you about some irregularities in your business dealings. Kaysen started to stand, but his legs gave out. He slumped back into his chair, looking small and lost. Eva, please. I leaned down close to his ear. You said I didn't deserve it. I just believed you. Until now. The agent led him out. Through the glass walls I could see reporters gathering in the lobby, cameras ready. Dad followed, aged 10 years in an hour. The trust account is secure, Scarlett confirmed, closing her laptop. The inheritance is protected, with compound interest. And Kaysen? Abraham asked. Federal charges, she replied. Multiple counts of fraud, financial misconduct, illegal transfer of assets. He'll be lucky to avoid prison. My phone buzzed. Penelope. Raquel just left the country. First-class ticket to her sister's place in Europe. Guess she doesn't want to face the music. A photographer caught us leaving the bank. The next day's headline would read, Family Fortune Drama, Justice Served Cold in Banking Scandal. Outside, Dad was waiting by my car. I never saw it, he said quietly. Any of it. Not his crimes, not your strength, not even your mother's wisdom. You saw what you wanted to see, I replied. And now? What do I see now? I thought about Mum's lessons, about quiet power and patient justice. Now you see the truth. The backup plan wasn't a plan at all. It was a trap, and Kaysen walked right into it. He nodded slowly, looking every bit his age. Your mother would be proud. I know, I said, getting into my car. She planned it that way. As I drove home, I thought about Kaysen's face when he begged. Not screamed, but begged. About Dad's broken realization. About Raquel fleeing the consequences. My phone lit up with another text from Penelope. Federal agents just left the beach house. They're calling it the biggest financial fraud case in state history. Sometimes karma needs a quiet hand to guide it. Sometimes justice wears a suit and carries a banking license. And sometimes the backup plan turns out to be the master plan all along. The holiday dinner was my idea. Penelope thought I was crazy, but I insisted on hosting it at my house. The same house where Mum had taught me all those quiet lessons. Are you sure about this? Penelope asked, helping me set the table. After everything, I placed Mum's favourite crystal glasses at each setting. She would have wanted it this way. The doorbell rang at exactly 6. Dad stood there, looking uncertain in his best suit. No Raquel, she was still hiding in Europe. No Kaysen, he was dealing with federal prosecutors. I brought wine, Dad said awkwardly, holding out a bottle. Mum's favourite, I noted, recognising the label. He nodded, something like recognition flickering in his eyes. Abraham arrived next, then Scarlett. The federal investigation was wrapping up, but they'd become more than just my lawyer and banker. They'd become witnesses to justice. The trust account statement arrived today, Scarlett mentioned as she hung up her coat. The interest rates are exceptional. Have you spent any of it yet? Penelope asked, bringing out appetizers. Not a penny, I replied. It was never about the money. We gathered around the dining table, my table, in my house, with me at the head. The empty chairs spoke volumes. Kaysen's absence, Raquel's flight, the collapse of their carefully constructed facade. I spoke with your brother's prosecutor, Abraham said, passing the salad. They're offering a plea deal. He'll avoid prison, but his financial career is over. Dad stared at his plate. I keep thinking about your mother, how she saw this coming. She saw everything, I said. That's why she spent 3 years teaching me instead of 3 years dying. To the quiet ones, Penelope raised her glass, Mum's crystal catching the light, who see everything and say nothing until the perfect moment. Everyone drank except Dad. He was looking at the family photos on my wall, specifically at one of Mom and me in her garden, heads bent together over paperwork. That was the day she started teaching me about trusts, I told him. She said knowledge grows better than flowers. I never understood, he admitted, why she spent so much time on banking laws and financial regulations instead of making peace, I finished. This was her peace, making sure justice would happen even after she was gone. Scarlett's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and smiled. The beach house sold at auction today. The funds will go to Kaysen's fraud victims. And Raquel? Penelope asked. Her accounts are still frozen, Abraham replied. She can run, but she can't hide from international banking regulations. Dad set down his fork. Eva, I need to ask, the inheritance, what will you do with it? I thought about the trust account, growing quietly like Mom's garden once did, about power and patience and the perfect moment to bloom. Nothing, I said. It sits there, proving a point. Every day it exists is another day Kaysen knows he lost, not just money, but control. To precision, Scarlett raised her glass again, Catherine would have loved this dinner. She's here, Penelope said softly, in every detail Eva planned, in every consequence that fell exactly where it should. Dad looked around my dining room at the crystal glasses, the careful place settings, the quiet elegance that Mum had always valued. You're so much like her, he whispered. How did I never see it? Because you weren't looking, I replied. But she made sure I saw everything, every lesson, every strategy, every way to make justice look like banking. The evening wound down slowly, comfortably. No drama, no shouting, no desperate pleas from Kaysen or sharp comments from Raquel. Just quiet conversation and the clink of Mum's crystal. As guests left, Penelope lingered. You know what I realised? This whole time, through all the legal moves and financial traps, you never once raised your voice. Mum always said revenge shouldn't be loud, I replied. It should be precise. Dad was the last to leave. At the door he turned back. Your mother, in those last 3 years, she wasn't just teaching you banking, was she? No, I said. She was teaching me how to make justice look like paperwork. After everyone left, I sat in Mum's old reading chair, looking at the trust statement Scarlett had brought. The numbers were impressive, but they weren't the point. The point was in the quiet victory of consequence, in the empty chairs where chaos once sat, in the crystal glasses catching light like Mum's lessons catching time. They say karma's a force of nature, but Mum taught me better. Karma isn't a storm or a fire or a flood. Karma is a quiet garden, growing exactly what you planted, blooming precisely when you planned. And sometimes, if you're patient enough, justice tastes like holiday dinner served in your mother's crystal glasses. I raised my glass one last time. To you, Mom, the original quiet one. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just served cold, it's served at your own table, in your own time, exactly the way you planned it.